and construction. Digital innovation has transformed the global built environment. This session will deliberate on the best practices and strategies required to ensure faster, smarter, and better data center delivery. For this session, I would like to invite Mr. Sumed D. Pandey, Associate Director, Project Management, CBRE, who will be moderating the session to please come on stage. Mr. Anbu Shanmugam, Vice President, Data Center, BAM Digital Reality. Kamlesh Harchandani, Head of Design and Development, Data Center, Capital Land, India. Mr. Sandeep Dandekar, Senior Director, Entity Global Data Centers and Cloud Infrastructure, India. Mr. Shubham Das, Chief Operating Officer, Data Center Fund, Kotak Investment Advisors Limited, and Mr. Vinod Jaul, COO, Digital Edge. Requesting Sumed to please take ahead the session.
Thank you, Pushkar, and good afternoon to all. I hope everybody had a good lunch, and we need to start next exciting session on data centers. So let me just put some context on this session. Is basically data is the fourth essential requirement for all of us. We talk about roti, kapda, makan, but I will add data to it. So to manage such a huge data, we require basically processing units and everything, as we know. So data centers come into picture to manage such a huge data on day-to-day basis, what we are doing. So today's session, we are going to deliberate on the technologies, what are shaping the data center delivery, and day-to-day challenges what we are facing. And for us, we already have a panelist here who are basically covering more than 60% development what we are doing in data center in India, if I'm not wrong. So we are all excited to start the session today. So introduction is already done for all of us. Let me quickly jump to the questions what we are talking. So as we know, the data center is shaping India as far as the usage, etc. is going, but technology is very important part of the overall delivery of data center as a, we can say, projects. So when we talk about the current status of market situations, so I'll request Mr. Sandeep Dandekar to throw some light on how you feel the current technology standards being implemented in industry are meeting the data center as far as the growth and the delivery is concerned. Over to you, sir.
So I think there are two sub-components of your question. One is about the current situation of market, like you said, and second is about the technology aspect. With your permission and with everybody's permission here, I would like to talk rationality. I would like to speak about what is the real situation on ground rather than doing some kind of euphoric talks. We have had enough of euphoric talks for last maybe 2 years. It is necessary to create buzz. It is necessary to create awareness of sunrise sector, attract attention of investors, attention of talent pool, all that is necessary. But once you've done that, you have to focus on delivery on ground, doing the right things. I think we have passed phase 1 and now we are in phase 2. We all have to leave our attention from creating buzz and start talking about where we are, take a stock of. I'm not going to talk about how many gigawatts by which year. All of us know there are so many reports that have been read, spoken about in the last several months. But if you talk about how many gigawatts in which year, and if you look at the total WIP, work in progress of all operators put together, where is the math fitting? So we have already walked the growth, right? Some part of it. And much more of it we know that is ahead of us, whether it is in terms of length of the curve or steepness of the curve, much of it is still ahead of us. But I think time has come, like I said, to consolidate, to get our act together. All the sector together has to think about, are we matured enough as, I mean, leave aside A against B, we are competing, but A plus B as a domain, where are we? Do we need to do some things together in the interest of the industry? What about the talent pool? do we, like I was chatting, if you don't farm, you have to steal. What is happening today is there is stealing, there is poaching of manpower. We are not farming the manpower, we are not creating.
True.
Similar is a situation for land banking, similar is a situation for power. We also experience that you have data center policies, the documents are there. But when you try to do things in reference to those documents, how easy do you find doing things? Or does it take a lot of effort, lot of trouble to get what you're supposed to get according to that document? So that's also one area where we need to improve. I think I will bounce off this question to Kamlesh, and then we will come to technology,
True.
which is part 2 of your question.
Sure. Thank you, sir, for showing that complete insight to us. I'll request Mr. Kamlesh to add his views on how the data center digital growth story so far in extension to what Mr. Sandeep has just now briefed.
Thanks, Sandeep. I think you have actually, given a gist of, the subject which we are trying to cover here. And what we are saying is a current situation when we say, what has changed? Like other industries, data center industry has also evolved in the recent years. And I think everybody has witnessed that. And with the fact that the current, fiscal budget from a central government, data center industry was given as an infrastructure status. Reason being because of the digital growth which is happening, not just India, across the globe also. And what we are also talking about is the speed to the market. So what is that speed to the market? It's just limited to the construction of a data center timeline, or it goes beyond. So I would not talk about, speed to the market which is limited to the construction of a data center. And maybe I'll talk on, the flip side of it. The flip side of it, we just, talk, okay, probably we can reduce project timeline, maybe a month or couple of months. But what goes beyond that? Let's look at that. I think as a technological leader, what we see is what is the project timeline which we can reduce so that, speed to the market is, very fast. But what goes beyond that? Look at that aspect. We do business planning. So as an organization, what we do, we generally practice, what's the business planning for the, what we do. In that case, when you do the business planning, obviously you do the market research and you try to create a capacity planning for that. Subsequently creating a budget and, as you also pointed out, selecting the land parcel. I think, the speed to the market is just not limited to the, construction of a TD. It also goes behind this. Because this is also taking so much of time. Considering, the today's investors, they are really, looking into, this sector where the huge investments are happening. But on the back end, look at the kind of time which is actually gone for, doing this kind of exercise. On top of that, when you do this, is it really, enough for us to say that, speed to the market? Because what new dynamics are also coming is, now, I think as a colo player, right, we develop data center with the, best of specs, which can be, which can create a value proposition for any customer for that matter, which could be floor loading, which could be height, which many other things. But things are again changing dynamically changing. And now everybody, so who's largely customers? Hyperscaler, they're talking about a cloud, and obviously the large enterprise also. But what has changed there also? The change has happened into the BTS model. You are ready with your design, many things you are ready. You are up for, construction, but at the same time, when everybody is talking about, BTS model, and again a BTS model, you wanted to go for a change. Right? So I think industry is slowly getting matured, but on the same time, speed to the market is again a question mark. And that's my point of view. On this, again, parallel to that, BTS, it can be in a very different form. When we say BTS, it could be infrastructure as a shell with a partial MEP, full MEP, Are we talking about into the powered shell? So, there are multiple variants and, variants that came over the period of time. So, as we started having a discussion, only just limited to construction of time, project timeline, no, it is beyond that. So I think as we land up to start the construction at site, we see multiple changes being happen because of the new dynamics which we have seen, not just from our end, it's largely from the client end. So that's what I wanted to add on here.
Thank you, sir. I think both of you have rightly put a perspective and very openly and a clear way that the way the speed to market and the industry as far as data center is going and it's shaping the current situation. So let me just deep dive more into the next question is specific on technology platforms, because data center projects are very unique in sense of their delivery models. And many technology platforms we are harnessing when we are delivering the data center related projects, whether it is BIM, whether it is Primavera, whether it is Aconex and all many platforms. So my question is to Mr. Shubhankar Das is, what do you feel, how much we are geared up in these platforms to deliver our data center projects as far as technology platform harnessing is concerned? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. So very, pertinent question, I would say, because going forward, the data center construction industry will definitely depend more and more on whether it is the BIM modeling, Revit, or Oracle Primavera P6 or MSP or Aconex for that matter. Before I talk about that, I just wanted to take a quick step back. Quick step back in the sense, see, I have been part of this industry, and what I have observed is that the start of a data center project, unless it is mandated by a customer requirement, and I have my fellow panelists here, typically tends to get protracted, gets delayed. I don't know the reason, but it tends to get delayed. The end date remains the same, right? So mostly we find either very highly ambitious or downright unrealistic timelines being thrown on the project managers. So my submission is, I know it's difficult, it's easy to say on the forum, but it's actually difficult. At the start of the project or in the initial stage of the project, as project managers, we need to sit with our stakeholders, our management or our decision makers, really firm up the scope. Very simple, right? Scope, your timelines, budget, resource allocation, your deliverables, your, the overall, I would say the true north of the project, the success metrics of the project, the milestones of the project. So all this we need to really define at the start of the project. So I think that's very important. In the melee of things, we are not doing it. We are jumping into the projects. As I said, we start very late. We have the end date there. So that results in, not a very good project coming out in the DC. And all said and done, there is a large amount of capacity coming in. We heard the initial speakers, but the capacity which doubled in the last 3 years is going to double or triple in probably the next 5 or 7 years. I mean, we can debate and discuss on that. That's not probably the agenda here, but a large amount of capacity is coming. So unless we have these kind of rearguard actions, we may not be able to deliver such things, which is essential for the country's, digital development. Now coming back to the question on BIM modeling and Revit, yes, as probably all of you know, data centers are very MEP extensive, right? So it's a services-led, I would say, a construction. So there the importance of BIM and Revit is very much. I see a good amount of adoption. I mean, I have my fellow panelists with me. Most of the data center projects, by and large, I see are using, Revit modeling, so to say. Reasons are obvious. The overall design and the planning of the design becomes much easier. More importantly, I think the changes in design, which happens obviously in a data center project, right? So the changes in design, we are able to capture much better in Revit and address it much better in Revit than possibly anything else, because it's a multidisciplinary thing. Again, construction, on-site reworks reduce, obviously, clash-free, intrusion-free, so and so you're doing the entire 3D modeling. So that reduces significantly by using BIM and Revit modeling. One more thing, as we progress, and again, I go back to my statement of large capacities coming in, multiple projects happening at the same time, more and more we will see, prefabricated or those kind of containerized, prefabricated, those kind of solutions coming in, whether it is on the civil construction side, whether it is a steel structure or a precast or a pre-engineered building, or even on the MEP side, wherein you are looking at containerized, say a chiller and pump assembly, containerized UPS, containerized digisets. Those things also Revit and BIM will help very much, because those you need to design everything on day one, come and plug it on site. Obviously, you reduce site works, you reduce labor, you have much better fitments, the overall project quality improves, the timeline reduces. So there also Revit and BIM modeling and Revit, BIM as a process and Revit modeling, etc., comes in extremely handy. Yes, there is a very negligible initial cost, but I think that's not important in the face of what benefits you accrue out of it. And on the preparedness and training of people, I think that was also part of the question. I think we are reasonably trained in BIM and Revit. We have resources. Yes, there is a crunch, but we have reasonably good resources in BIM and Revit. What I would recommend is being an insider in the industry is that the latest, like say Revit 24, etc., people should start getting acquainted. There are a lot of interoperability and other models which has come in these tools.
Yes.
So we need to learn them. That's on BIM and Revit. You also asked about project management tools like maybe Oracle Primavera P6. Frankly, I have not seen much of use of Primavera in data centers. Mostly Microsoft projects, and that too for scheduling. Now, mainly for scheduling, I have seen that Gantt charts and all that. But if you see these tools, obviously most of you know, these tools have much more larger purpose, right? They can do your tracking the variance, or they can do real-time risk assessment for if you have those models. Yeah. Obviously your cash flow, your resource allocation, in fact for contractors billing, etc. Everything these tools do, but I don't think we use them in data centers. At least again, I will refer back to my fellow panelists. Mostly use it as a tool to just do the scheduling, look at some float and look at the critical path, etc., which also keeps changing. So here I have I would say I have again a strong feeling or urge or request that as we progress, and again looking at the quantum of work coming in, I think it's important that we try to have these modules also added, while we are doing a project. That will help us in automating the projects. So use these tools in a more holistic manner than only looking at scheduling. You can generate reports, you can do, there are so many functions which have come in. Today, if we look at, Oracle Primavera P6, etc. So right now the usage is limited, that's my view, in terms of MSP and other things, mostly for, preparing a basic schedule, I would say. Other point on this, I feel you also mentioned about Aconex. Aconex is something I have personally used, and I would recommend any kind. Today also, if we see, most of our data center projects are, the communication and all documentation is done over emails. So I'll tell you real life scenario. I came into a project bit late to lead the project. The earlier project manager had left. Half the information is not there. Now the contractor has delayed. I'm telling you a real-time scenario, real-life scenario. So the contractor has delayed. Now we are at a loss to actually have a chronology of events. Some documents are not there. So if you use tools like Aconex, Procore, or whatever, there are a myriad tools available in the market. I would again urge the PMOs to have those kind of tools, so that the entire process is documented. It is not temporary. You will have the entire document set available throughout your life. Same is for BIM Revit. The model will be available for you to work upon later. You will be able to see what all things, and you will be able to add on it, right, later. You will be able to improve. As a PMO, if you are running, you will be able to improve. Yeah. So Aconex, definitely Aconex or a project, it's not an advertisement for Aconex, but I am saying a project documentation management tool will also help in a significant way, in terms of your chronology of events, in terms of managing the sequence. You can put a SLA or a TAT on certain, like say you have sent a design document and somebody has to approve it. The approver will have 2 days or whatever time you can define, and beyond that, there will be a notification which will be recorded. So in this way, any delay, any analysis on the project, you will be able to do much better if you look at these tools. So I think this is broadly to sum up. The need of tools is very, very important, because looking at the quantum of work which is going to come up, if you're talking about gigawatts of power which we are going to deliver. So these kind of tools will definitely aid, and I think we are somewhere in that journey, not there, but
Very well summarized, sir. Absolutely agree with you that we have tools, but implementation is also equally important. Let me just deep dive this question again, and I'll go to Mr. Anbu to understand when we are handling the projects in a multi-geographical level. So the consistency of delivery of those projects using technology tools, how we find, are we geared up again? Because again, we spoke about program, Equinix, everything. But do you still feel we are lagging? Do you echo with what Mr. Shubhankar has said? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sumit. Yeah, it's almost covered by. Yeah, it's almost covered by Sudhanshu. And Sumit has asked the right question: what is the consistency of the deliveries? Right? No, this has been always tossed upon. So, which is the toughest one in the industry? Because there are three critical factors. One is that the ecosystem you are operating, that is the team you are going to build it. Every time you cannot build the same team because the industry is in such a situation of churn. So you don't get the team. So the technology is, the ecosystem is around the team. Everything you can build a technology, whatever tool you are putting it in. Finally, the competency and the learnings, whatever you have learned in the previous project, need to be carried forward to the next stage, next project. So obviously the ecosystem team that adapts it, that matters more. The second factor is always the design, right? Which Kamlesh already touched upon. There are multiple variations. The flavors are completely different. Somebody is looking for a non-rise floor, somebody is looking for a rise floor, and the cooling designs, whatever the air, how you are going to deliver it. There are multiple variations on the design, we have to adapt to it. And third is the regional flavor, right? Whatever the construction is happening in Singapore, or for the matter, what is happening in Chennai cannot be reflected in Mumbai. So there are different codes altogether. These are all the three factors completely driving the industry on the consistency. Every time you can see these are all the risks, these are all the fault lines, appears in any new projects. So every time if we can unearth early, then obviously we can address it. We can look for consistency. The team that delivers a good project in Mumbai cannot be delivering a good project in Chennai. So these are all the variations we could see on the team itself. In this technology, if we take it up, obviously the BIM tool is helping it a lot. The complexities are a bit addressed, which my panelist has already told. The prefabrication, which we are driving it across, even we are putting for a containers into the electrical systems and mechanical systems. We are containerizing it and putting it in a factory, then bringing it to the site, just install it. So by that way, we are just mitigating the challenges, whatever we are coming across day in, day out. So that way we are trying to build a consistency into the supply chain, which our electrical contracting teams and mechanical contract, all those things are really building up faster. That is good for the industry, good for us, and we are in a lucky situation that we have got a competency at backyard. So we are able to replicate very easily. So that is helping us on the consistency, but again, the risk is on the fault lines, whatever we could see that there are challenges. The skill levels and the adoption of the technologies and the requirement keep changing day in, day out, right? Everybody is looking for a PVE closer to 1. So how do we achieve it? Then technology changes. Everybody comes with the rack which is UPS less, or go for a rack which is 25 kilowatt per 2 tile configuration. These are all the challenges coming up, not like our industry is not fully matured enough to take it. Obviously, we are trying our level best to reach that. Obviously, whatever the repeat orders we are seeing in the industry for the existing players, that gives the confidence that we are consistently delivering as an industry to the customers. So in a short form, that's what I can say. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Again, we got an insight. The technology is there, but we still need to harness it more, and manual intervention still required, because technology can lead us to certain extent, but still we require manual. intervention.
Sumit, one more I just wanted to add this point.
Yeah.
Maybe if you permit. So while we talk about, a lot of churning is happening in data center industry today. Of course, these technological tools will help us, a successor, to actually follow it up. But what else innovation we can look at, where the things doesn't get stopped, or maybe, a manual way of doing it. So what what I'm practicing in now, which is eventually, like CBRE is actually our partner for us. Now, every site, now we'll be, starting our at least 2 sites in next 1 month. So what I'm creating is, I'm creating a war room in every location. I'm not limiting myself, which is, just limited to the meetings, which is going to happen daily, weekly, or fortnightly. I'm trying to create a one additional war room in individual sites. This war room will be equipped with the boards all across, pin-up boards, something which is left out for a week or a month. It will be still there unless this is not get resolved. So when you are actually hitting into the war room, you know what you have to do tomorrow or next or subsequent days, which is going to address here. So you will be having a clear picture as you enter in the war room. So I think, I know the kind of, another manipulation which you can do, which obviously the tools are there. With the gadget, you can actually look at it. But the things which are surrounded by you, which you can just at a glance, you can see it. So that's what I'm trying, as a project leader, I'm trying to adopt something which can help my team to move a little faster.
So, sir, yeah, if I have understood, your thought is technology-enabled war room. So this
Yes,
is
of
really
course,
nice
yes.
concept which has come up. Great, sir. Thank you for the inputs, and we'll move to next as very important point of delivering the project requires a procurement strategies and ultimately management of the budgets and cash flow. So we have various models as of now which are working in industry, but as far as data center, we are still moving in conventional model. We are not using the, or are we really using the technology-enabled platforms wherein the auctioning, reverse auctioning, etc. goes? So my question is to Mr. Sandeep that will online tendering mechanism, which currently we are using at large contracts, government contracts and other large private contracts, is a better model going forward, technology-based sourcing?
Uh, it's a small question with a very big or elaborate answer. So let me start with, when we talk about technology in the whole animal of data center, this is subdivided into various silos. We talked about technology now and tools available in design. We also to some extent talked about technology available in the brick and mortar space of technology, like PEB buildings, precast and all that, right? The third comes in program management. Very few organizations still are graduating from project management to program management. Now that's something we need to do, because that's where the wheel starts moving well oiled. So we have to migrate from PMC to PMO. That's where a lot of technological tools will come. And as Subhendu rightly said, there we are still scratching the surface. There are tools with a potentiality to deliver much more, and possibly it's lack of still awareness or lack of expertise or test cases that we are still not there. Then comes to procure to pay cycle. That's where obviously a technology or automation opportunity resides. You also have data center operations. We often don't talk about operations like Kamlesh said. We only talk about data center construction, but construction takes only 18 months, 20 months. You operate that data center for 20 years, 30 years more. So we must not forget about technology and automation in the operation space. That's where it is most important actually. And then you have EHS, which is now emerging as a very, very important parameter, as important as all of these that we have talked about, plus the zero carbon, green, sustainability.
Yeah.
So these are all sub-silos. Now, if you think of adopting a technology which is out of sync of others, you will only create more problems for yourself. So you cannot just pick a shirt for one particular animal without thinking about others. It has to dovetail into the other pieces also, because these all silos are connected. Now coming to procurement in specific, if you talk about e-procurement or tendering, there is a lot that has to happen before that. It takes you one day to migrate to reverse auction. It takes you maybe a few days to go to e-auction, or I mean e-procurement. But are you there? in terms of your standardization of design, in terms of your being in at a same plane of understanding with your vendors? Do you speak the same language? Do they exactly understand what you require? Because you cannot go to reverse auction or e-procurement without having stitched all these things. That's a last mile. If you are in auto, if you are in pharma, if you are in repetitive kind of procurement where there is no need to have lot of human intelligence, your think tank doesn't have to come together, contemplate of various things, your business scenario is changing, like all of us said, your design changes 5 times during the construction, right? So the minute there is a slight change in design, how are you going to execute e-auction? So there is so much of complexity. It's not just yes or no. If you ask me in pharma, if you ask me, like I said, in auto, it will be foolish for somebody not to use automation tools in procurement. But here it is difficult, and for reasons. You don't want technology to take away the freedom, the decision-making discretion that you have as a human, as an intelligent, informed, expert human, right? And that is a very delicate balance.
Great, sir. And I'll go to the, yeah, I'll go to Vinod, sir. Yeah. So, sir, over to you just to understand when Mr. Sandeep has also added that it requires a lot of deliberation to really adopt this online procurement tools in our contracts, basically DC contracts. But just to add here, do you still feel market is matured in view of Reliance? One is saying that basically we are not ready, let's say client is not ready to put everything, but do you see the vendors are also equally ready in view of, are they willing to participate, or do you feel a supply chain for them also is an issue while this online, their procurement of back-end materials, LLEs, etc. are a concern? So your views and your opinions, sir?
Sure. Okay. Firstly, thank you. I think I'll have to thank, I didn't hear anyone thank, so on behalf of everyone, let me thank CII and CBRE for inviting all of us here. I think that's the first thing which probably we need to do.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I had a lovely lunch and good to be part of such interesting discussions. So it's a good day for me, even though it's pouring outside on 2 occasions. One is I'm part of this panel. The second is we just broke ground for our new projects.
Congratulations. Let's have a big hand.
It's more still fresh in my mind, so I couldn't control my enthusiasm, so I had to convey. So sorry for the deviation there. But that's what it is. Having said that, do you need online tools for procurement? Yes. My simple answer could be yes. But is the yes sufficient enough to go and start procuring the things? No. The reasons for procurement we all exist is one fundamental, that we get the right value for the product and services. It's not that it is more or less. The moment you try to squeeze someone for less than what he can do, you are ending it in more trouble than anything. So technology as such in the procurement angle are 2 things. One is to enable the guy, what we say, I'm Guy, in Digital Edge and some of the older organizations, we believe they are partners to us. We believe that as a partnership, we trust them equally. So that if he says that this rate is going to cost me 4, I believe it's going to cost 4. But the moment you say, no, it's 4, moment I say, no, he's trying to cheat, trying to pull a fast one, it may be 2, then I spend 2 months to square, and end of the day I pay 4.5 rupees. So that's not the whole thing which we call as partnership. The moment you try to treat them as partners, you build a trust in them. So the procurement tools must be based on this principle, that do you trust your partners, first. Second is, why are we looking at procurement tool? For him to be a partner is the right proposition on that. The tool must be useful for him to look at all the elements while he's trying to price for you. Do you have enough data given to him? Have you submitted the drawings? Have you submitted enough details for him? Where do you get a high pricing and low pricing when the other party doesn't understand? There is a gap on that. What technology can do to reduce this gap is something which we must surely look at. But the main advantage of procurement tools is the administrative one. I come from saying that I've been rolling out data center right from 2006. There were days when the codes used to come in closed envelopes. marked
true.
and sealed
Yeah,
and
yeah.
summoned, and we used to call
Offline.
4 people to sign that.
Yeah,
So where the data hall, we used to go and party in 5-star when we constructed 3 megawatt, and we are now constructing 300 megawatt. So that's the evolution stage. But what has not changed is our administrative process of collecting, analyzing, and the tools will definitely help us to throw out numbers which are abnormal in nature, numbers which are both positive and negative. It will reduce our administrative work of trying to put everything together. If you have a tool and you ask all the vendors to submit in the prescribed format and locking certain cells and all, which is a very crude way of looking at it, end of the day for you, you will have analysis. And the tool will also throw you analysis of your past projects.
yeah,
So it will help you to clearly show that are we heading towards the right pricing mechanism. So I feel while e-auction is something which I agree with Sandeep, is more commodity in place, may not work fully in terms of trying. What is e-auction? You're trying to squeeze the last juice out of him.
yeah.
May not work here.
Mostly intended for that only.
So in desperation, if someone says, okay, doesn't matter, I'm going to quote some 10% less, he'll make the project manager life miserable. That's not what we want, because as a partner, I want him to prosper. I want him to make me prosper also. So the e-auction probably is not the one. Maybe there are better way of e-auction to do it. But there are various other tools in the market which definitely can be used. One is definitely to reduce the administrative timeline. Second is to run some analytics on that and throw in some numbers for quicker and real-time decision making. This definitely will reduce our cycle time. But all of them are under underlying principle of I trust that guy. He is
True.
my partner.
True.
And I want to work with him on a long-term basis. Unless you don't do that, you'll be grappling. We'll have a finance guys. No, I can negotiate for. There's one guy who will call you up and say, don't close the tender, sir. I'll give you better rate tomorrow. Other guy will say, I'll give you after 2 days, I'll give you better rate. The cycle will never end.
Yeah,
So we must not get into the vicious cycle. The answer is what I said. Yes, required, may not be fully required, but it has to have a heart in the negotiation process. Thank you.
thank you, sir. I think
You have a minute? Can I
please,
take
please
it?
go on.
So, again, to pull the same thread of what Vinod said, let's say you have a pyramid, right? And the apex of the pyramid is value. And as you go down in the pyramid, it is more of mundane work. So, by using technology to support, exactly as Vinod said, not to replace your process, not to completely take over through automation, but in between segments which are more laborious, more human driven, where either you take time or there is a chance of human error, these can be automated to support the whole process. So what you do by that is in the value pyramid, maximum number of activities which are repetitive, which do not have lot of intelligence, that human intelligence required, you can push them down in the pyramid,
Yeah.
make them more of conveyor type.
Yes.
And those can be driven by technology. And whatever still remains up in the pyramid, where you consciously want human intelligence, human discretion to be available, those you do manually. So it can be 60-40, 70-30 kind of a combination of step number 1, 2, 4, 7 technology and the remaining steps manual. That's how I see it.
Great, sir. Both of you put a very right perspective, because DCs are in agile environment of overall life cycle, and both of you touched this very clearly, and partnering with the down the line team and partner-based procurement tool, and again valuing that ABC class items, absolutely very valid points both of you have put. So now I'm coming to the next question, wherein we are talking, sir, 300 megawatt capacity per year being targeted in India as a part of the outlook of data center market. So my question to Vinod sir is basically, do you feel in mechanized construction, and I'm also trying to understand on 3D printing, does Indian data center industry has a required standardization of mechanized construction? Are we thinking for a precast or kind of a more of a steel ready kind of building, or any 3D printing related model, maybe not immediately, but next 2 or 3 years down the line?
Yeah, and definitely. The answer, whether we need to go towards off-site models, construction approach, the answer is definitely yes. I've seen the evolution of this. today is not the day, like our Prime Minister says, today is not the era of war. Today is not the day of getting too many guys in the site. Okay? The construction approach for all the construction heavy industries, including data center, is to get as much offsite as possible. So the modularity approach, skid mounted solutions, containerized solution, which can be fabricated outside and brought and assembled inside, is the way to go forward. Because there is, earlier we were talking about building capacity about 10 megawatt, 15 megawatt. If you use the same approach to build as much as in situ as possible, it is not possible to build 50, 100 megawatt on that. There is a scale to which you can manually ramp up. Beyond a point, you will not get the productivity. You'll only get head counts, but no productivity. Very high risk of safety incidents and manual manpower related issues on that. So there is no other options for large scale operators to get into approach of off-site constructions and bringing them back to the site. But the fundamental is, it's not very, it's easy to say, but again I said that the whole approach is to be fundamentally, you must decide early that I will go for this kind of design. It cannot be an afterthought. The moment you try to do an afterthought, then you will end up with a compromise solution, compromise design. So when you start drawing the first line in the drawing paper, you must be decided, this is the principle of my design. And in that, you'll say that this will be what I will do outside, this is where I will assemble, this is how I will do, and my whole space planning for the data center will be based on that. I think this is something which I have seen. I've been working in a very old time data center as well as the new one. The new one come with this kind of approach, that something new and different we have to do, and I think this is the way we all need to look at it. All new data center probably will do well if you do a lot of things outside the data centers on that. So the answer is yes. And the second question you asked, is the ecosystem ready to do this fabrication? I could say that 3-4 years back it was not ready. Now they're getting there. There are many people who are now started assembling skid mounted solutions, powertrains, generators, compact substations, and we're getting chillers which are mounted pumps.
Yeah.
We got pipelines, pre-insulated pipeline. Without welding also you can do clamping. These are few things which are there. We have got customized bus trunking systems. We got a clamping arrangement which can be adjusted at site. So these are various things which are available now. So the whole ecosystem is progressing there, and definitely we are all going there. My point here to say is, we don't have options if you're building big data center, but to look at trying to build something offsite for us. The other topic which you asked, very interesting. There's something which is 3D.
Yeah, 3D printing.
Excellent. No, it came out a couple of, I think, months back about L&T doing some 3D building or something else on that. I was wondering where we probably could use it. So in data center, there are places which are not functional nature, but require more from segregation point of view.
Yeah.
Partition walls. These are very quick adaptation of 3D printing walls. Because if you try to do something of 6.5 meter height or 8 meter height using the normal thing, it will take ages for you consist. So like that, as we keep going, there are avenues which we can definitely look at it. I think, after the offsite and modular approach of what we say coming to, the next will be 3D printing, definitely on that. And I'm sure the industry of 3D will also improve to an extent that it becomes economical for us to do that. So the answer to both of them is yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very well put in view of the expectations, how it's going out. So I'll go to same extension of the question to Mr. Kamlesh. When you talk about 3D printing in data center, so are you thinking that are we in a position to extension of Mr. Zaur, what I said, is when we'll be really in a position to implement this technology in maybe 2 years, 3 years? What is your viewpoint on this?
I think we already started using this technology. It's not that we have also evolved over a period of time using these tools getting ready with the 3D, but there are certain, constraints that Vinod has very well pointed out. And again, what he also mentioned is, most of the things as we, build offsite, right? So what are the reason for that? It's just not, limited to, speed to the construction, but not just limited to the tools or 3D which we've been using. It's also making sense that after pandemic, most of the construction industries have actually, started getting, difficulty getting the right labors for the site, right? Why we have actually reached to this stage? The reason being, most systems is being, done offsite. It is just, the biggest reason is the scarcity of the labor also.
Yeah.
And on the same time, if you look at, if I'm actually going to develop a site, it is just reducing the half the numbers when most of the things coming, being produced at the of the site. So it's also, helping me to, reduce the safety aspect of it, right? It is probably, giving a much more, easy way to construct in a faster manner. And I'm also trying to avoid any incident because of the more labors being at site. So I think, yes, we are adopting this technology, but on the same time, the upside which I'm just trying to add with the, this is the major, though using these, offsite system, which is obviously increasing the cost, but it is also helping me in a many ways also.
Hello? Yeah. So, like we are talking about mechanized construction and 3D printing. Now, one thing which is also happening parallelly is with, 5G coming in, we are talking about edge data centers, right? Where low latency near the, lot of loads, near the load, you are going to have the edge data centers. Now, in case of edge, and if you are looking at a very standardized containerized data center itself, smaller capacity, not obviously the capacities of 100, 200 megawatts, smaller capacities. Those also possibly can be, maybe 3D printed, we don't know, because it's cookie cutter, if that happens. But that's also one thing, we don't know when. But the edge application is something which is definitely going to come up. You will see in tier 2 cities. In fact, the hyperscalers are very actively, couple of them are very actively talking about their, whatever you call it, I don't know whether they are called availability zones or they are the edge zones, but they are talking about those edges in the tier 2 cities. I have been privy to such discussions, so I thought I'll share. This will also be another avenue. In any which way, the containerized data centers are an example of mechanized, off-site construction of data centers. Yeah.
Thank you. I think the crux is what we are discussing. We are already adopting things, and what has taken us up to here will not take us there. So we have to do a lot of churning over here again. So let me come to next question. Is very important in view of talent pool. So as we know, we are again developing at very high speed and understanding the required talent in India. So my question is to Mr. Kamlesh, that what should be done in, for increasing the talent pool of data center and relevant talent pool, not only the talent pool, and ultimately it will benefit the overall data center industry and development. So your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, thanks. I think it's very important question, especially in the current scenario if I talk about. While we as a capital and developing multiple location data center, again, we are also facing the same issue. And I'm sure it's nothing, left out from my panelist friends also. Why actually this situation has come? Let's look at this aspect. Why this situation has come? Of course, we talked about a lot of demand which has been projected. When this really demand has actually been come to the light. If I just go back to the before pandemic, yes, there was a demand. Maybe it was half that, a little more than that, the projected demand. And I think everybody has witnessed the projected demand has gone almost doubled up before pandemic. And that is what we have seen, the talent scarcity where the multiple data centers, not just limited to India. You talk about North America, of course, Latin America is small, and then, Europe, being added with Africa and the Middle East also, and back to the APEC region also, right? So this is, you will see, of course, the developed countries or Western, countries, they're already, increasing their capacity, right? What you can see, the CAGR from these developed countries, which may be 12 to 15%, and back to the APEC region, which is touching at a 22 to 25% also. So talent scarcity is already there. It's just not that, we are probably, trying to stitch the current requirement. What we can do, I think we have to come out of the old school of thoughts.
Yeah.
Old school of thoughts wherein, I mean, if I just go back a decade ago, we used to have people who are separately doing a design activity within the organizations. Okay, maybe something to do with your authority approval, something to do with the business planning, and then subsequently, as it comes to the construction, you have a separate team who does the project execution, and of course the operation goes very separate. See, in a complete project life cycle, what we are doing is today we are outsourcing most of our services to the many organization, which starts even if it comes from the market research also, right? So we are, most of the things we are actually outsourcing it. What we need to look at it, maybe not limiting your person or your team member, which he will just do it, something to do with the pre-construction activity or something to do only during the construction activity also. We may have to actually equip them or delegate a power which will enable him to take a, because ultimately as we as a leader, we have to develop future leaders also. How we are going to develop these leaders? So maybe you have to pick and choose those guys who can take from beginning as the data center go for a production. I think definitely we can talk about training people, collaborating universities and schools which can technical schools who can probably train those guys. But and I just heard what Sandeep in fact mentioned about do we need to start farming of people who probably immediately required? I don't think so. Right now we are in a stage where we can do this farming. Yes, stealing is being done. For sure. I think it's witnessed by everyone. But what we can do is, I think, look at a guy who is actually working for you, make him as a program manager. Ultimately, your everything is get outsourced. So it's not that, he is running through the processes which is being, driven, starting from a business planning or, the capacity planning, so as it goes with the ultimately for the production of a DC. He is aware about that. Only thing is you are just trying to equip with him with the additional responsibility, though everything is outsourced. He is just trying to integrate the sequence. So this is the first aspect of that. And now I'm not trying to limit myself with a scarcity on the something to do with the pre-construction and the during construction. We have passed through that, right? And I think we have seen this projected demand has just doubled up because of that, the scarcity. And if I look at the Uptime Institute, they have done research some time ago. So this scarcity is, as I said, not limited to the India. It's also, and the projected staffing requirement till 2025 will be touching roughly about 2.4 or 2.5 million full-time employee compared to the 2 million full-time employee as we speak on 2020. So this is, though we are using artificial intelligence tools, automation, which is probably helping you to optimize not only the manpower, also into the project side as well. But this is not enough because the projections are very high today. Now, if I just leave it up to the project, and now the same kind of scarcity we are witnessing, it's going to happen on the operation. We touch upon the operation, yes. So many sites which are coming up. Of course, you are not, making a data center which is centric to the one location, developing 200 megawatt or 300. You have a multiple sites, okay? How about, the scarcity is going to come in operation also? Who's going to run? your SLA is not going to change, right? It's
Yeah.
going to remain 2 hours and 4 hours.
True.
So I think in one of the forum I spoke about, how, and of course I have also witnessed that in a lot of private equity funds are, backing those who are into the data center facility, manpower supply. They're backing it up. Now, what can be done? Now, we have seen this phase, and now, of course, this phase is still continued till 2025 for the design and the construction. What we can envisage in terms of our operation, how we can, mitigate that. India has witnessed so many captive data centers, which could be ranging from, let's say 40 racks, 50 racks, up to the 200 or 300 or 500 racks. I'm talking about a captive data center. Maybe those people are, doing operation for small UPS, small cooling system, and a small, the automation system. If any facility guy or, data center manpower supplier, if he is actually, coming with a program where they can pick those guys, eventually, see, your captive data centers are going out of, going out of their premises. We have witnessed this in pandemic. We'll not talk about that. And the guys who are already trained in those small DCs can be, readily available, who can enhance their, their capability in terms of handling large systems. Of course, you do have, your own team who can probably look at, the larger system, but on the same time, these guys can be trained very easily, rather than, creating a training program, doing a certification program. It will be a theoretical. I'm sorry, it will be a really theoretical on what practical is. Something to, pick up those guys and you train them to handle the larger infrastructure. So, yes, there is a scarcity of talent pool, not just in India, as I said, it's a worldwide. And in one of the research which has also indicated, we are catering not more than 70% of staffing requirement across the globe, especially in the data center industry. Yes, over the period as we, we start farming today, we will see, some guys are actually, will be developed. But there's a, one aspect which I also want to touch upon here is, in the Europe or, North America, they are calling this as a silver tea tsunami on the manpower requirement. Silver tea tsunami is, something to that. In this decade, they are witnessing so many people who are serving data center industry are getting retired. They're calling it a silver tea tsunami. How, they are going to cater that? So obviously, one is the farming and, collaborating with universities and, but again, this will remain there, I'm sure, till, this decade, till the time the new generation who is being trained, who are probably running with a small system, been trained for to handle the larger system. So I mean, I think these are the some ways which can we can probably increase the talent pool.
Great, sir. I'll just again go to the extended question of this only because when we are delivering data centers, many of the clients are asking DC specific experienced candidates or contractor experience on that or designer experience on that. So when we discuss what and the way we can go ahead on harnessing the talent, but do you think, Mr. Anbu, is it a right approach to get for experienced guys and then deliver the project in considering the scarcity right now what we have in the DC market? Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, right. Actually, Sandeep has touched upon the question that why we are not going for an automated procurement, right? This is where comes in this sourcing of the talent, sourcing of the solution. We are not looking for just a automobile component. We are looking for a solution across. So obviously, that supply chain, we are fortunate enough to have highly qualified electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, network engineers, IBMS engineers. They are in different industries altogether, right? UPS industry is there, chiller industry is there, and DG sets. So these are all the talent pool, nurturing the people. Of course, we are fortunate to give lot of youngsters a stepping stone to the next stage of operating a data center. So the roadmap is very clear that either you are into one of the subsystem of a data center Then from there you migrate to a data center operation or a build out where the client will value you, right, for the deliveries. One. Second, always this PMC is there or the operating supporting staff. These are all the areas where the youngsters can be nurtured. That we are getting plenty of freshers across, right, with 2 years of experience, 3 years of experience, but they need to be nurtured to the level what data center operators are looking for. The experienced data center experienced candidates, it's really getting rare nowadays. So this is good. This is one part of it. This is positive part of it. We are able to migrate plenty of talent from one level to the level what we are looking for in the industry for the operator to value it, to commit the kind of SLAs we commit to the industries, and to the ensuring that uptime is available for all these operations. Second is what that negative part is always been the churn, whatever churn we are seeing, that no, the operator need to value you that, but at this moment there are about 20-25 operators looking for the talent at the top level leadership levels, all the mid level, but the crunch is very high. So that how we are tiding it over, there are two aspects to it. Always we are holding the resources by giving certain, operating proper working environment, salary levels, that is okay. Second aspect, what I can always vouch for is that, in a lighter vein, if I have to say that, creating a competency within us that, we can tolerate certain sort of incompetencies or certain sort of maturity level that, this is growing. Obviously, we don't find the cream of the people, that we need to stretch who are all the leaders, who are all experienced in the industries for about 10 years, 20 years experience in the industries, give a stepping stone to them, that tolerate them for a couple of years so that they become better engineers. Obviously, that, one can be promoted to a level of incompetence. Obviously, we have to create a caliber within us that, our competence is in such a way that we can tolerate certain sort of incompetence so that they also grow up over a period of time. This talent crunch is taken care. That's how I see the solution in two ways. One is that, the positive aspect, plenty of engineers are migrating from multiple industries. Second is that, we need to be showing some more empathetic hand in nurturing the teams and nurturing the talent to a next level. That's what I could see on the talent pool. Thank you. Thank you, Simui.
Thank you, sir. I think what we understood is some initiatives are already there to nurture the existing talent and how to bring them up. Theory versus practical is importance is to practical thing, and again absorption to some extent, but not all extent, is required in order to deliver the project. So that should be a approach, a hybrid approach I can say. Let me go to the next question, very important question, because we discussed regarding data center industry is very agile and change of user requirement is very, very evident. The way we start the project and mid of the project or maybe substantially when we move ahead for a construction, we experience changes. So my question is to Mr. Anbu, that what are the tools and analytics basically you are implementing or you are thinking of to accelerate the program in case of such change in user requirements are envisaged during the course of execution?
Yeah, right. In any industry, the change is a pain, right? If you take the bridge construction, if you take the lift, lift manufacturer takes the order fully, punches it, and it takes 4 months to deliver a lift. In between, if you give a change, that's all. You will be losing another 3 months. So entire industry, you take any industry, right? The moment the change is given, that's all. You are offsetting their supply chain, you are offsetting their manufacturing process, then you are thrown out of on the cost, whatever the best price you negotiated, gone. Whatever the best timeline you have negotiated, gone. In any industry, you take this, the HT, switchgear industry, any industry. But this industry is unique, that the moment I can build a design which has got the flexibility to accommodate the kind of varieties of servers, right, which can be 3 kilowatt, which can be 25 kilowatt, or which can be that water cooled servers. If I can bring in that kind of flexibility within the design, I'm the winner. So that's how the operator looks at that, how flexible your design is. Then how do we mitigate this kind of challenges, right? It is not that easy as we talk. Obviously that any new operator or any existing operator, they have got a timeline to go live with the data center, maybe 18 months if they say, 24 months if they say. How do we plug in all those flexibilities within the systems? Though we segregate, high side of an electrical system, high side of a mechanical system, which are core components, left it, no, maybe which has got a longer lead time, okay, fine. We build in some rigidity into the system, but we keep more flexibility into this floor level, like, how the air supply you want it to be, how these, you want that power deliveries. So this flexibility we build into the system, that's how we can bring in some sort of comfort to the customer who comes with a hybrid sort of requirement, sometimes looking for varied kind of applications. Now AI is coming, which is going to be high power density of maybe, they may be saying about 30 kilowatt in a space of about 2 tiles by 1 tile. So that is going to be the challenge. Obviously, this is what we are all challenged of, that how much flexibility you can build into your design, so that our investment is on time, whatever we are committing, 24 months to go live, still the customer will be there at the month -3, but still you have to accommodate the requirement whatever the customer says. So how we are going to keep it? That is how the industry works. That is how the industry is valued. Unlike other industries, we cannot be that rigid to say that the moment you give a change, that will be changing it across, or will be charging some different cost altogether. That is not possible, because this industry situation is as such that the designers, the data center builders need to get a competency of building more flexibility into these systems. That's how we view that. Obviously, this is an opportunity, it's a more of a challenge to overcome. Obviously, we are good at it. That's what I could see. Yeah, Vinod.
Yeah. So I'll just extend the question to Mr. Vinod. Because see, we are also looking at a multi-tenant data center. So to some extent, we can manage one, tenant's design change management. But since you have been experiencing so much of deliveries in past, what is your approach to certain changes in view of the technology? Can we have certain technology-based solution on this?
Yeah, as Anbu rightly pointed out, I think change is inevitable. The industry in which we are operating, customers still has got the upper hand in terms of dictating what exactly they would like to do. And it's our own ability to adapt to change is far more important now on that. So what we are trying to do, as I said, over the period of years of experience, the way we are trying to look at it is, firstly, change is addressed in two levels. One is design level, how modular you can be and how flexible you can be to accommodate an anticipated change on that. Before that, you need to have that kind of a brainstorming session to what you could expect as a change. There must be a set of industries, experts who are studying the futuristic trend which are coming on that. There must be an internal debate within the technical team as what could come next on that. So with that in mind and with that background in mind, a little bit of conscious effort to see how fast we can adapt if this thing comes. We do a lot of things of risk management, and one of the risk management which we don't address really is risk of customer changing need itself, is a risk to our delivery. You may say that it will extend time, no problem, we can do it, but it's a risk to my revenue flow. My revenues will get delayed by 6 months by trying to accommodate. So in our risk analysis and in the approach to do this, we must have an element of change request coming from the customers, and especially coming from technology adaptations. Okay, that's one which probably there's no right solution. It is a kind of anticipated things. It may happen, but the mind will be prepared and less shocked if you have thought through it earlier on that. The second one, which I feel is extremely important, is if any change comes, our ability to take the right decision is a component of information being available to various people. That's where the technology comes in picture. Suppose someone says that I need to up the rack capacity now from say 10 to 20, then the whole ecosystem of heat management, cooling management, power management, and you then run to some consultant to run some CFD analysis, blah, 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 and all those things and all. In this way, ability to host 3D drawings in a common platform which are available for all the stakeholders, and with instantly, if any one of us are trying to modify one thing, it reflects as a change to the whole ecosystem. Will probably help us in getting the right decision faster. It's not that every time the change has to be yes.
Yeah.
Change can be gray, yes or no, and an alternate to that, and sometimes yes with certain riders on that. To come to that decision, the technology and the ability to host all this thing in a common platform and getting the whole ecosystem to look at it simultaneously will help us to take the decision faster than the rest of the things. So this, I feel, is the one is look technology change as a risk and prepare your team to be engineering wise prepared for that. So hence your approach to design and engineering will have some element for these changes itself. Maybe a small element or a big element. Second is use technology to take the right and a fast decision on that.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, please.
Thanks. Maybe, you know, what we have seen the changes over the period of time. I mean, if I just go back just before 2010, we used to talk about, you know, very small rack densities. I'm not getting into the rack density today. I'm just, obviously, those days have gone where, you know, we used to talk about average rack density. We just talk about a pod capacity or a data hall capacity. And obviously, if the change come, what changes are actually, you know, replicating to the, starting from your pod size, changing into the, you know, your UPS capacity, their panel capacity, the backup capacity. Of course, it is there. But, you know, what is the underline here is also, if you look at, you know, the pod capacity, when let's say we are fixed it for a 1 megawatt, but is it really a hardware which is going to reside in the data hall area? Is it going to consume the capacity which they have asked for? Because many times, you know, the lot of differences come when we talk about a consumed capacity. We always say, okay, this is my rated, but no one can claim this is, the consumed capacity is not going to beyond certain limit. And we have just work on the change, which may be, you know, from a 1x capacity to 1.5x capacity. What is very important is the solution architect who are actually responsible for hardware to deploy, or, you know, the network architecture to deploy. He should also come forward wherein they say that yes, my requirement is this, which is forming the rated capacity, but my consumed capacity will not go beyond this. So you can take decisions so fast wherein you know that your design can, you know, create a capacity which can, even if it is a consumed capacity, though my rated is high, but I can still, you know, take a call on that. So I think these dynamics are not limited to the, you know, us who are creating infrastructure. It's also going beyond wherein the guy who is responsible for hardware design, he makes, you know, he will probably give you that perspective whether the existing capacity will serve or maybe it has to change. Because of course the rated capacity, and since I came from that industry also wherein, you know, our colleagues used to design for hardware, I have never seen the consumed capacity goes beyond 65% of its rated capacity of any hardware, be it storage, be it server, be it blade, any form which you say. Even high-end servers also. I haven't seen those, even the peak load, it goes beyond 65% of its rated capacity. So I think that is also has to be, you know, discussed with the people who are involved for the network design or, you know, the hardware design.
True. So we have come to the end of session basically, but the takeaway was flexibility in design. We have discussed adaptability in our approach while we are designing and implementing the project. We also discussed risk management process, how we can implement and harness the technology related solutions, and after that also we discussed regarding the last one basically regarding hardwares and all. So we have come to the kind of last point. The forum is now open for a question and answer session. So if anyone has any questions, we can have answer through our expert panelists. Anyone, please, you can start. Pushkar? Any questions from anyone? Yeah.
Thank you, panelists, for a interesting session. It was interesting to note that it's a tech-driven sector where it's not commoditized to select the supply chain per se. It's a rising sector. So my question is, the successes of the organizations that are getting into the sector, which are being funded by the private equities or new players who are entering into it, how much will be the role of the structures that they adopt in the organizational context with regards to the supply chain, the human capital, the technologies? How do they integrate, and what will be the role that will be played by structures in the coming time? Thank you.
I think Mr. Shubhankar.
Structure in the sense?
Not the physical aspect.
Acha, you're talking about the organization
how
structure.
they're adopting, because yeah.
No, so see, this is a rising industry. This is a tech-driven industry, but the underlying principles remain the same for any any industry. So your human capital, your supply chain, all of these are of paramount importance. So whether it is private equity funded or not, but my submission would be that to be a successful data center, co-location service provider or a data center operator, your human capital will still be extremely important, even though you will have a significant reliance on technology. Your people will have to drive it. So I don't know whether I answered your question correctly or not, but the structure, the human capital or sourcing or all of that has to be there, as in any industry. I mean, not very different is what I feel.
Maybe I'll also touch upon, from a structure point of view. See, any investor is finally going to ask you, what is my IRR? Right? The structure starts from there only and ends there itself. I think in a simple line I can say that. Your investor is going to say where it's going to start and where it's going to end. It's something which is,
Go ahead. Thanks, Himanshu. He's part of my team, so probably he's trying to. Good. Thanks. Just to extend the debate little beyond the obvious. Obviously, we are following the standard structure, which over a period of time has proven to be something which works well. But that doesn't prevent us to look beyond the structures. That I feel beyond the time, we as a co-location operators will be only handling some portion which is critical for the operations of it. Everything else will be handled by specialists. Okay? There would be specialists who will do design and build for you. There will be specialists who will run operations for you. Specialists will run the security system for you. You are more of a governing guys to advise that. This is how the future of this will go. But presently, if you look at the structure, we are not in a position to experiment, because for all of us, it's a difficult market, and everyone we get pulled back by the argument that why do you want to upset an apple cart which is working? Whether it is working efficiently or not, we don't know, but we feel that we are all here. Dosa tastes good in this hotel, why must I try something else? Let me try dosa only in this hotel. But the future is, we as an operators cannot be specialists in all areas. There will be specialist people there. Why can't, for example, someone like CBRE be given completely the operations for us? He will bring the talent pool. He'll bring his own set of team. He'll build his own automation. We will be the governance structure. But do you want to ask today? Maybe not. Maybe it is maybe a decade or could be 5 years down the line. That's how the whole ecosystem is there. This is how the whole India outsourcing model is working, where we are supporting global through outsourcing model here. This is no new to this. It's a matter of time we head up. So, but till now, you have to still stuck with the structure, Himanshu.
Yeah, right. Just to add it, we are into a startup culture, right? Many of the operators are. So we'll evolve over a period of time. that, but it is not going to be the whole structure whatever we have seen. So that will somewhere middle. Yes.
And in some way, you know, I also address that, from a structure point of view, if you see, we have to come out with the old school of thoughts. I touch upon, we have a, you know, people who used to work on the, something like a pre-construction, which is a, like, you know, this also like talk about design, or somebody is going to work on the project, or how, you know to look at a person who can actually integrate the sequencing by a outsourcing model with a single person doing a program management. And that's how the scarcity can be reduced also.
Thank you. Thank you all panelists to be part of this today's session. I hope our audience has also enjoyed it. And on closing note, I can say by the time we discuss this session, few GB of data is already transferred to the
14 GB per person per month. Achha, one data quick. The largest data consumption, take any guesses. So I don't think we have quizzes running here, but Indians, 14 GB per person per month. So 1.4, 1.5 billion people, about what, 850 million active internet users. Out of them, maybe some of them only once a month for some retrieval of accounts or etc. But around 825 and 14 GB per month. That's the highest. Okay, and the least data center consumption in terms of data center space vis-a-vis GB consumed. So a lot of headroom.
So one Google research says, one site when you access it, when you want to access any site, it consumed 0.000 kWh. How it converts? It converts into, glowing 60 watt bulb for a 17 seconds. So if you are accessing any site, you just imagine it's a 60 watt bulb will glow for a 17 seconds. That's the power.
Thank you.
Okay. Last point. So if you do an AI search, that's 70 times of that from that Google search.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, dear panelists, for that engaging session. May I please request to be on stage? Yeah. May I request Mr. Deepesh Nadar, Kirby Systems, to come on stage and felicitate our panelists. Mr. Anbu Shanmugam, Vice President Data Center, BAM Digital Reality. Mr. Kamleshwar Chandani, Director Data Center Projects and Operations, Capital Land. May I request Mr. Rinku Kedia, Interact, to please come on stage. He will felicitate Mr. Sandeep Dandekar, Senior Director, NTT Global. Sandeep has gone. Yeah. Mr. Shubham Kardas, Chief Operating Officer, Data Center, Kotak Investment Advisors Limited. May I please call Mr. Akshay Ved Pathak, Elevate Group. Akshay. Mr. Vinod Jaur, COO Digital Age. May I please call Mr. Gaurav Kohli to come on stage from Asawa. Gaurav. Thank you, Gaurav. Please felicitate Mr. Sumedh D. Pandey for moderating the session, this very engaging session.